You wouldn't believe how I feel. Nobody's ever felt like this. They all say that, don't they? Everybody thinks that they are the only ones that have these problems. Nobody can have a problem like this. Look at the combination of symptoms. It's really weird, you know. I got this and that and this and that, and this is how I feel, and that's how... And it won't go away either. Wow. So when it won't go away, it means that the charge is stuck, and the charge has written a law. What's the law? You know this? What does the charge write? When the charge becomes an entity, what does it write as a law? No, I won't go away. And I won't go away. You know, and you say, oh my God, and it won't go away, you know. And if it went away, who'd care, right? You know. Some people have allergies, they put up with them, you know. Oh, it's May, I'm having an allergy attack. You know, it'll be gone in a week, though, when the roses go away. What a bunch of people. Everyone thinks it's silly. The roses are in bloom, now I've got an allergy, you know. It's like, they have...
That can be a genetic thing, though, right?
Sure, they have assigned cause to it. And
but I mean, they may not really have control over that if it's an ROM thing. I mean, not that it couldn't be changed. If they have a block of genes that say, when you smell roses, you make this protein and it causes this reaction in your nose, that's
right.
A little harder to deal with, to really unpeel all that.
Oh, sure. No, not really, because anytime, if you can, first of all, you have to teach the person that they can get in and change. Okay, that's the big problem. I would say it takes 3 grades of programming. People don't even think they can get at it. So, I mean, once they think they can get at it, then you got a whole new ball game to play.
Well, you can go after the whole background genetic structure, so to speak, too, to get rid of the symptom.
Absolutely. Of course, that's one way to do it, but everybody wants to do it. Everybody would like to do it by you giving them a pill. I mean, that's the bottom line. Like you giving them drops or something. Everybody wants that. They don't want to be bothered. They say, hey, look, here's my case. Fix it, okay? I'll be back for it later, you know? I'll just leave it in the shop for a week, you know? I mean, okay, so I'm a little sick. I don't care, but, you know, people don't understand that the scriptures, if you will, that are written as their laws in their system, they ain't going to go away. They've already written a thing that said, you're not going to get rid of me, I don't care what you do, and I've got, you know, all kinds of self-protective mechanisms.
When you have this case, like it's just said with analogy, to go away in a week, they said. In other words, there's not enough charge, I mean, there is a charge that is below their subconscious maybe, which may lead later on to another bank,
right.
Which they don't never know that because they didn't do anything for that 1 week where they had a little charge, it now creates something that they don't know why there is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's it. What they do. What one bank works on the other.
Yeah.
It just seesaws that circuit. And that chart there, that Prometheonic interface, it'll show you circuit patterns where you just keep going around inside the bank. You never get up, out. At the top of the chart to the left is out. And you'll see when you get the chart, you look at it. At the top is drug phenomenon. All people reach for drugs because drugs is a way out. But it's an illusion, because what it does is it numbs out their hallucination mechanism, and tells them, you don't even have to worry about that. You know that stuff that you promised you'd do and all that. Look how good you feel now, you know? You don't have to rewrite anything. Just forget it, you know? And you have to rewrite. And up there it says genetic changeover. There's 6 steps to rewriting a script. You have to rewrite the program. And say, you know, first of all, what's the because on it? I'm going to do it because. The because is always an incident. I'm not going to go out with that person anymore because they have herpes, you know. Well, how do you know they got herpes? Well, I saw it, you know. It's a big thing, you know. You know, it was like, then you convince them that it was just a pimple. You know, then, oh, you mean you don't have herpes? Oh, hey, geez, well, that changes everything, you know. You mean it's just acne? Well, that's better, you know. I mean, in other words, new information changes the laws all the time. Now, how can you change a law when, first of all, you don't even know you even have these things, and second of all, that you don't even know that you can get new information on it, whatever it is, because you don't even know what it is. But I grant you something, the because part is always a collision all the time. It's always a collision. And if you look on that chart up there, where genetic changeover is, there's shock, trauma, and unconsciousness. That's where it happens.
So, would you then say when you have a patient, you would normally not mention all the things that you have said because you may set up charges.
Right.
I mean, you gotta be really careful not to zap them while you're...
I'll tell you.
If you know they were allergic to roses, it's fine.
There's a doctor who will remain nameless that was for years, you know, he's a friend of mine. And, well, Margaret used to work with him, and he used to have fun just taking these chains and just rattling them and watching these people like you know, rockets would shoot off at him, you know. And he'd think that because of his, you know, I mean, a lot of people were inept at the program because they didn't really know what it was, but he didn't really understand. And all he was doing was was lighting firecrackers, you know, and marveling that this stuff could go off and say, oh my God, this is unbelievable. And the way the chain would pick up that they had all these problems. Yeah, they're all there, like an imprint. But the point is, how do you actually take it and change it forever? That's the thing. You have to get back to the primary point of collision where the person was programmed. Now, there's only several ways you can program a person. They all involve shock and trauma. You have to, first of all, you have to traumatize a person to program them because that's how you get in to the programming banks. In other words, that's how you program a computer. Do you realize that the way you program a computer is by shocking it with electricity? And the same thing is, in other words, I can program you. All I have to do is shock you first with electricity and then modulate the shock wave. In other words, I hit you in the face and go, bam, and I say, you sucker, you'll never get up. Like that. And that is programmed into you. You'll never get up. And you may, for a long time, have adrenal failure, exhaustion, or not even be able to get out of a chair for a while. People, it's funny, when you're running programs on people, all kinds of voices start popping out, you know, of commands like that.
How would you then discharge?
Well, one of the mechanisms we were using just to take piles of charge off was the homeopathics.
Okay.
But that doesn't change the case.
Yeah.
That's not what changes the case. The homeopathics take a lot of the shock off.
Yeah.
And what they do is they open the banks up because they're able to take that shock off and expose the bank. And what happens is a lot of the phenomenon of what happened before comes forward, and the person now has to reach the because part. He has to look at the because, and at that point, he has to rewrite the hallucination, the confusion.
What happened in this case then?
Well, you know, I'm going to tell you something, frankly. There is no way. This thing, it's been there for a long time, and it'll be there for a long time afterwards, because there's no way anybody can really get into it. Yep.
Talking about the charge, for some person depends on the intensity of the charge. Like saying some people can handle it like putting it in suspension.
Right.
Put it in a back burner instead of, you know, depends on the intensity of it.
Well, that's, you know, obviously the intensity governs, you know, how they're going to behave, you know. So, the main...
Back to values.
Well, values, sure, you know. The main thing is we have to get a viewpoint of how you're going to approach each program, you know, what you're going to do primarily to bring back, get that person's control back so that they're able to take it and get a gain, like make a change, right? That's what you want. You want to change them so...
Like a recovery?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm going to tell you something. Even if you never changed another person your whole life, you just did it on yourself, it would be worth it. Just do your own program and fix yourself. The important thing to understand is that the chart and the form, this form here, is there's a break, okay? There's a break somewhere, and there's a break. What keeps the charge going is the inability of the individual to get to concepts and meld them back together. Like, for instance, I'll give you a good example. Here's how it goes. I say, you ever see that association game? Okay, I say to Fred, Fred, what do you think of when you think of Mary? And he says, love, sex, fun, it's that kind of stuff. Okay? And the thing is that somewhere along the line, that programming has changed. In other words, something changed. And a year later, I said, Fred, how's Mary doing? Bleh. Hate. Anger. What the heck would... In other words, what changed it from this point to that? Okay? In between, something happened that changed this guy's mind, right? And that something created the charge. So we have to find what that thing is. Now, why do we have to find that thing? Because if we find it, and we look at it and work on it, erase it, we can get this back together and get back together a better viewpoint of Mary, rather than having a differential here. It'll all be the same. Mary, oh, sometimes I love her and sometimes I hate her. But when you have differential and the person says, I really loved that woman once, and now I don't. What's happened is this differential is charge. Once you discover that, you take differential away, you take charge away, there is no charge. There's no symptoms anymore. In other words, anybody that's gone through, anything that's gone through a transformation or a metamorphosis has charge attached to it. It has to. That's the enzyme action, right? You ate a banana. It was a big banana, right? You ate it. Where is it? What happened to the banana? Wouldn't it be interesting if you ate the banana and a day later a banana came out the other end with the skin on it? Here's your banana back. I just need it for a day, that's all. Right? The banana's gone, right? The banana has transformed. Transmutation, right? And we've taken the energy of the banana and we made some charge to work with. Work with it. And the point is that if somewhere down the line that charge has changed and is not working properly, then we got some problems. We got to find out, like, hey, what's the matter with this banana enzyme? Was it rotten? Was it not right? You'll find this exact same phenomenon in the periodic table of elements. One element transmutating into the other, especially in the radioactive series. They change. Larry works in a nuclear power plant, so he knows a little bit about that stuff, right? He's got control rods going into these beryllium, or what are they, graphite piles now still, or are they using something different? Or? Oh, you're not into that, huh? You're not into that part. Anyway. Well, what happens is these things decay and they break down into other elements. The point is that when they change, charge erupts. Now, I don't want you to get lost. When I say charge, I want you to keep getting the idea of symptoms, because charge is symptoms. They translate into symptoms. So how do you fix a person using the SAF program? Anybody got the time? Okay. How do you fix a person using the SAF program? The point is this. Let's take this situation here with the Mary hate triangle, okay? A guy shows up and he displays the symptom of hate. That's all we get. You see, if we had the whole thing, they would need us, right? All we get is this. Major complaint. Walks in. Well, I think hate's a little bit much, right? So he's not going to tell us that he hates. I hate people. He's going to say, I'm tired all the time. Say, my goodness, you're tired all the time. And he says, and I don't know why. Okay? So we say, okay, you don't know why. What are the other symptoms? You get this, take it as a program, and run it down a list, do a major complaint handling on it, and we find out that he's tired all the time. He's tired of taking crap off of people. It's the stuff I gotta put up with. Okay, so we translate that out and we say, let's follow a 13, 17, 18 down. The guy's impotent, he can't perform, he can't put up with it, he really has a hard time putting up a good defense. He can't put up with it anymore. 13, 17, 18. Say, my goodness, here's a guy walking in, started with this, we went to this, we're still trying to handle this, obviously. The obvious barometer of us getting him better is what? He gets energy. All of a sudden his energy comes back, he's a brute, he starts eating door handles, and you send him away, right? But something's stopping the guy, crushing him in, right? He's got a break somewhere. Isn't that a break? When you're tired? Tired is always the same thing. It's always a failed purpose. Like, I tried to do something, I couldn't get it done. Okay? So I'm like, oh, what's the use? So hopeless. Break is despair, hopeless, You always see that. Any kind of exhaustion. Go to New York and you'll see a lot of that. Why? The Big Apple. Everybody's failing all over the place. As many successes there are in New York, there's 1,000 failures for every one success. So, you see tired people all the time. I'm exhausted. You're not exhausted, you failed. That's what it is. That's what you should be saying. Anyway, we find out he's got to put up with this stuff. What the hell? What are we talking about? We're still in the dark. I don't know anything about this stuff. But we know we've got numbers. Now we got numbers. We can plug him in on that chart. 13, 17, 18 plugs in right about midline with the chart. Okay? We take this chain and run it through the SAF and plug it in. Bam. Core comes out. Loss of loved one. Now, you got to remember something. I don't know this guy. All I'm getting out of here, I'm just hammering out these cores and I'm linking them together. Now, what's happened here, though, is I'm destroying the differential. See, he's sitting there with differential. He's saying he's tired and he's putting up with all this stuff, right? But he doesn't know it has anything to do with this. So the differential creates the charge that allows this whole machine to work, right? So what we do is we destroy the differential by bringing them together. The only way you can do that is by using the chart and the program. So loss of a loved one comes out. Now where are we? We're stuck because we got loss of a loved one at 220, like this. Okay, now let's go back to Mary, Fred situation. Here's Fred. And he loved Mary. Now he hates her. Now, what we have over here is hate is being translated into here. This is hate. I can't put up with this anymore. I hate. He's really saying I hate things. I hate to be alive or something. And we get back over here, and he's translating this into tired. His system's translating hate into tiredness. That's basically what's happened, okay? So we get back in here, and now we go back here to loss of a loved one. Okay? But look at this part here.
In our Life Energy courses, you'll learn to decode the hidden messages of your symptoms. gain a deep understanding of holistic healing, and tap into your true potential. With SAF Online, you'll have access to cutting-edge tools and resources to guide your journey. Whether you're a healthcare professional, holistic healer, or someone seeking personal growth, SAF training is for you. Join our global community of seekers and transform your life. SAF training, where the journey to yourself begins. Don't miss out. Enroll now and embark on a life-changing adventure.
To lose a loved one, you have to have one, right? You have to have a loved one to lose one. So what we do is, this is where, and Dr. Schwartz put it the best way. He said, you know, you mean this thing's full of charge? And if you just start saying stuff, you're going to charge them up? Yeah, but remember one thing. If you do it exactly right, and you pinpoint it to the bank, and you deliver it just right, you're going to get all the right answers and fix the charge. And the way you do it is this. You sit the person down, and you look across at them, and you say, okay, now I'm going to ask you a question. I mean, it's got to be done in like a bubble. You can't just be doing a computer and just say, hey, look at this stuff. Hey, you got this, you got that. What happens, the charges starts going, you start charging up all the banks, you don't get down to the nitty-gritty. The nitty-gritty is this. So you say, I'm going to ask you a question. And the guy says, yeah, well, what is it? You know, he looks at it. How does having to put up with all this stuff relate to losing a loved one? And then, bam! It just takes a wedge in that chart and just takes those two pieces out. And the charge goes like that. And you come up with the information, the info, that says blah, 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 blah. And then now you have set up the situation where, with doing the right homeopathics and all the right situation, you can actually discharge this phenomenon. Now, this seems like overly simplified, but the point is, you can make so many errors just by, A, having the person look at the chart and reading it while it's coming out of the printer, and doing a lot of different things that will just confuse this diagram here. Because their attention will be on all the other things that we're reading coming off of the chart. You see? What you have to do is you've got to get them connected to this thing that's causing the charge in the first place, the differential, and destroy the differential by asking them the poignant question, how does having to put up with all this stuff relate to the loss of a loved one? And they say, oh yeah, I know how it does it. Well, the loss of a loved one, that was, I had to put up with, well, really, the reason why we put these two things together is because we want the because. This will get you the because. See, now in the old days, you used to say, did you ever lose a loved one? And I'll say, yeah, I did. Mary, my friend, I loved her, but she was such a jerk. But you never got to the because part because you never connected the two things that were differential. Why the guy was so ticked off? Why was he so ticked off? Well, because Mary ran away with Jim. That's what you want.
Joe?
Yeah.
This is the person with the
Parkinson's. Oh, yeah?
Okay. Now, she's not even sure, because the doctor's not even sure whether it is Parkinson's. Just because you hang a label on there doesn't mean it's Parkinson's. And what is Parkinson's? Well, maybe that's the disease.
It's charge, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is exactly, I mean, you didn't know, you couldn't have known because we have never talked about that one. But that's exactly what happened. This was a replay, piece by piece, what happened while she was in the office. Exactly. The whole bit. This is a...
Okay. Now, you haven't really done anything because on that chart you'll see genetic changeover, and there's certain steps you got to go through. The steps that you have to go through are this. When you get up to the charged pod, it's a memory pod. In here, you have a core that goes all the way down. Now, he's ticked off because he once loved Mary, now he hates Mary, but that is just a part of the pod. The whole stinking thing is loaded with segments of action that have occurred.
Look what I marked on the back for myself while I was talking to her. When I saw that loss of a lot, I didn't even say that. I said, what happened then and then? And she dropped from the 12th floor right into the basement, nearly got killed. I mean, I couldn't.
Yeah.
And I had to really pick it up again. But this is what actually happened. That discharge was totally out. Now we're working with something else. That's why I'm very interested in finishing this.
Well, one of the things you have to do in this is once you set this up, you have to run down all of the voltage in the pod. There's a lot of voltage in there.
Sure is, yeah.
And what you have to do there is have her recite all of the incidents in proof bank that are relative to that. Now, I had a lady the other day, I thought it was amazing. I never really thought it was just an accident, but I had done her blood on this thing here. And we're going to do your blood today, and you'll see this thing called rouleau, and all the blood cells connect to one another. And on our program, that indicates that they're magnetized, basically. There's iron in there, and when the person gets emotionally upset, all the little cells just stick together like coins, And they were all just, you could just see them like, oh. And I had done a program on this lady, and here it was just accidental that she was sitting like this way, and the screen, she couldn't see the screen, but the blood was sitting on the screen. And I had done this process with her, and we started going down the proof bank, and that rouleau on the screen was just coming apart. You could just see it relaxing. And people say, oh, well, the blood's over there and she's over here. But, a person has a magnetic field around them that is connected. That blood's her frequency, her wavelength, And I'll tell you, it was probably one of the most startling things I'd seen in a while. I was watching her own blood actually release.
Monitor the progress while you were...
I may have stumbled on a new program, but it was really something to watch. The rouleaus, when all the cells are all they're all stuck together, you could see them, they're magnetized. And as we were doing the program, she was coming down, the charge was coming off, you could just see the little blood cells just peeling off one at a time on the screen.
But mine were all together last night also, so that means when you work while you're working, you can see the progress of breaking up.
Well, I don't want to state that categorically. Maybe it's just a fluke incident, but I don't want to make that an actual tool. But I mean,
We did this a year ago with the urine.
Right, that's right. I remember now with Rosemary.
See, that's work.
Well, Rosemary.
Urine sample, retested. Okay.
We retested all. We did the urines, and were you there, Margaret? The women, they seem to have that ability to change things because they're fragmented,
I got yesterday's chain, and I had a loss of my sister last week, and I don't see that on
You had yesterday's chain?
took with the infrared.
Yeah.
So, I don't see any combination like it.
Well, let me see your chain. I mean, there's other, you probably hit some other...
I was trying to see if I find it. In fact, I had a loss of a friend, too.
Oh, yeah, well, that's a good question. People say, well, I just had some, how come it doesn't show up on the machine? Well, there's two reasons. First of all, depends on what track you take it from. And the second thing is whether there's charge there or not. If there's no charge, it's not going to show up.
Well, I had it last week, probably cooled down.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't even know how to tell you that, because the only thing I could tell you is that this is a face thing, right?
No, it's a colon.
Oh, this is a colon. No, well, you wouldn't read the colon for... What you would do is read the face. If you want to take a look at, how this is a colon shot's going to give you things that you wouldn't read a hate line for losses, you know what I mean? Losses would be face or 3D.
Well, with the colon, like you say on the emotion, shows mid-emotion would be hate.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you don't show any of that. You're not a hateful person. Hateful people are really easy to spot. They got real low, dark bags under the eyes. And very, very hateful types are, nasty. They're always picking on people, and they're always picking their backside. And
They're like ego shrinkers, really.
well, yeah, they're always like, what they want to do is break your connection with yourself. You say, hey, boy, look at look at the wonderful thing I just have. It's a piece of crap. That's a hateful person. They're just trying to disconnect you from your own projects. It's really easy to spot people who are trying to harm you because they're trying to disconnect you. They stop you, they interrupt you, they talk over your sentences. You're trying to talk and they finish your sentences for you, and they won't allow you to be. Like you heard the saying, "Let it be" or "Let me be." Just let me be. Let me broadcast, and then you receive it, and then you broadcast, and I'll receive it. We go back and forth. But some people just have in their own communication is difficult to get through, and that's bad. Okay, what we're going to do today, anybody have any questions before we end off this segment? This was just...
Is there any indication other than everything is...
Well, the part is that the 1012 is, related to Parkinson's disease. And you have it in there, and it's around impotence. In other words, impotence is the cause of, she's impotent. She's not able to finish her projects. Her break is she started something and couldn't get it finished. Now, what is it, okay? Now, what the program will do will be to get you to the point where you can take the Parkinson's and list out against the Parkinson's and say, okay, tell me some things that could cause this condition. And she goes, blah, 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 blah. And on 1012s, the face is a real good scan to take to get the bully, okay? That's what we're going to show you today. We're going to show you how to open up all the modalities, attitude corrections, how to do attitude corrections, misunderstood word corrections, misunderstood situation corrections. They're like real vital, see, the problem you have with this whole process, it's not a problem. It's a prerequisite. When you're trying to get to do something with a person, you'll notice some people it's going to work real good on and some people it's not going to work so well on. The reason why it's not working so well on some of these people is because they have some rudimentary, fundamental problems with their energy exchange in their mind. It just doesn't work. In other words, they have written laws in to protect themselves from being read. You can't read them.
indicate anything?
She has face with 4 numbers on the thing?
Face and hands.
Oh, it's a combination.
Yeah.
Well, the only thing this really indicates is that there's some kind of toxins or poisons in the system. Or basically, I mean, you can't have a nervous system cut out with hypoglycemia, you know, like just low blood sugar, not getting enough power, you know, that kind of thing. But that doesn't really, you know, if you want to get to the bottom of it, which is what she wants to do, you're going to have to run the program against that bank and get that information out of there.
Well,
So,
isn't it that actually the final symptom which is displayed now and so-called labeled as Parkinson's disease, it's totally irrelevant as to how you're going to get to change it. If you were to treat it, that we're not interested in.
Hi.
We're not interested in doing anything with the final symptom. We're interested in where is it coming from, right? To find where the break happened.
yeah, well, the thing that really cracks cases totally is to rectifying charge. Okay, because charge is the symptom. And the way you get a charge is you've got to follow. All charge is sort of like a tendril. You get a piece of a charge here, and it has, remember, as I said, that the thing that really causes the upset and the confusion is the fact that the charge is changing shape, has a different view to it. So what you see at the head of the charge is a symptom pattern that is very dissimilar at the tail. And that's why you need a chain to tell you how to go back down the whole system and find the root causes of it. This is what confuses everybody. Now, the thing I was going to show you today a little bit, you know, you've got nothing to fear from, you know, any, well, first of all, there's no doctors in this whole country that can put up with anything you tell them because they don't even know what the hell it is. I mean, they have absolutely no idea of any of this stuff because they don't understand sequences, because they're not physicists, and because they're a one-to-one attack and retreat type of a person. Like a doctor, you walk into the doctor and say, look at this bump on my hand. And the guy says, ah! And he says, let's look at it and see what it does. You know, and then they sit there and they look at it. That's the retreat mechanism. Then they go into the attack phase, which, well, let's cut it and burn it and chop it. You know, that's their whole viewpoint. It's very one-dimensional or two-dimensional at best view of treating an operation. We put the third dimension in. And the third dimension is time. They say fourth dimension is time, but the third dimension is really the time, is changing position, giving the ability for this thing to change, to look at a bump and say that, oh, that's a trauma that you suffered when you were a child, you know, coming into a manifestation. In other words, it's the head of a long chain. Oh yeah, you actually got hurt on the foot and it's coming out here. Man, there's no way a regular doctor is going to buy any of that. Yet, if you sat down with them with a chart of the nervous system and showed them the neurological and cardiovascular pathways that could cause the electrical manifestation and the mass manifestation of the same thing.
In our Life Energy courses, you'll learn to decode the hidden messages of your symptoms, gain a deep understanding of holistic healing, and tap into your true potential. With SAF Online, you'll have access to cutting-edge tools and resources to guide your journey. Whether you're a healthcare professional, holistic healer, or someone seeking personal growth, SAF training is for you. Join our global community of seekers and transform your life. SAF Training, where the journey to yourself begins. Don't miss out. Enroll now and embark on a life-changing adventure.
And how you could take it, the pathway that you could take to get it done. I think you'd be really, you know, I don't think you'd have trouble convincing the guy, but the problem is that it's going to take a while. It takes a little while to do it. I mean, you really have to educate them. And the problem you have with most of these guys is that they're uneducatable. They're like an idiot savant. You know, it's a guy that's, you know, you get a guy that's really an idiot in some fields and a savant in other fields. What's his first inclination as a savant? I already know everything. You know, you can't tell me anything more about X, Y, Z because look at all the degrees I have. But they're just all in a narrow view. They're not degrees of, you know, universal studies or anything like that. So I think the viewpoint is to stay away from them as much as you can, you know, avoid them, and you know, just talk to people who understand something about transmutation and sequences. And transmutation is the basic process of the universe. That's all there is to it. I mean, and as I said earlier, I'm not going to take it for granted anymore that people know that. That's been my mistake. You know, I thought, yeah, sure. I mean, why not? People would know, just photosynthesis alone, you would know that the sun's rays are converted into food and the chains and all that stuff, and how a little baby grows, and how corn grows from a seed, and all. Everybody knows that. And everybody doesn't know that. Just doctors walking around that still think people just, you know, appear, you know. They don't remember them as little tiny entities. Do you have any more chairs? There's a chair back there.
This question?
Yeah.
You refer to this interface chart quite often. Is that going to be made available?
Yeah, that's the Prometheonic Interface of Common Disease, Bank 4301, which is, that's the number of cycles it takes to create each terminal on that bank. That's the actual flow chart of the SAF program, okay? So that'll give you the actual interface of energy. In other words, you can plot major complaints and cores and show the differential of energy and what it'll take to rectify both. See? That's the most powerful piece of literature that's been published in, well, we'll forget that statement. Well, let's just say it's a really neat chart. Time will tell. Time will tell, believe me. There's been some lucky accidents on the chart. I was talking to Dr. Waters about it, and I am pleased at the way it came out. Even though it's not, there are some quirks in it. I think it's better to. That's the blueprint of the chip that runs your disease process. In other words, it's a gene chip. It's an old chip, you know. It's like something you inherit. You know, you just wake up, and it's the thing that you use to demonstrate charge. Like somebody gives you charge, you get somebody hurts you or upsets you. That's the chart that shows you how you will demonstrate this hurt. It's a nice thing to have. I want to show you how to use it. There's a lot of like really neat things on it. The really important thing about it is that it interfaces with the big black book that's not here. Oh, there it is. Prometheon. It interfaces with it so that you can actually read SAF data against that book. So you could know like the hydrogen relationships to the chlorine, like what all the chlorine characteristics are, what all of the, you know, any of the elements are on that chart so they can give you a much better overview of what's going on. And I just talked to this guy at Doctors Data, and they have developing a process and a program where they'll be able to, in your hair, scan all of these elements, like the whole periodic table, which ought to be interesting. That'll give you some more information.
To be able to do an individualistic kind of a chart, say for a person, if you had the time, I mean, to see how you would plot and curve.
Well, yeah, that's what it's for. You keep it on the wall, and you just say, okay, you're here. It's like you're at a mall, you know. You are here, you know, and this is where you want to go, and this is your major complaint sequence and how, you know, it relates. I mean, really, it's the whole program at a glance, which is pretty nice. You know, rather than having to thumb through books and trying to keep it all in your head, it's right there. So you just look at it, you plot it with a compass, and you say, well, for you to discharge this problem, you're going to have to go through this pathway, which means that you may display these symptoms. You say, well, he says to you, well, how do I know I'm going to display the symptoms? You look on your SAF printout, and it says, yeah, these here are in jeopardy. These others you may not, you know, they're light. These are charged, and so on. So, very, very exciting thing. I mean, and as I'm explaining, I'll give you some more data as to the extensiveness of the chart and also the material that goes with it. What's really neat about it is it gives you also latitudinal and longitudinal variations, time variations, lunar eclipses, you know, how it affects the chart, how it affects the people, and it's got a lot of stuff on it. It even has a constellation interface. So, you know.
Other charts, you mean, that you're going to put out?
Yeah, and there's a book that goes with it if you want to purchase the book. You don't have to. You just use the chart, but the data that's coming out to give you, like, information on, see, this chip is a present phenomenon. Then as conditions in the environment change, some of those terminals will fire automatically, just as, you know, like how they blow the siren at 1 o'clock for, you know, just to test it, you know, the fire siren, you know. So, okay, some of the stuff we're going to go over today. I have this super duper 3D imager for the microscope over here, which is really fun. People like this a whole lot. It's, you know, taking pictures of blood and everything is fun for people because they get to see their blood, you know. And I don't think we're ever going to get away from the fact that a lot of people like to get stuck, you know. I don't personally like getting stuck. I mean, it really doesn't do much for me. But it's something I think is a real good drawing card. Not only that, the program that we have interfaced with it goes right into the computer, and you can compare changes. Now, we did this last night with Dr. Schwartz And we did his face, and we did his blood, and we crossed them, and they cross-meshed. And there in the middle of it was nervousness, like this tremendous nervousness. I mean, anyone can see this guy is calm as a cucumber. But, calm cucumber. You only get those at Wendy's. But it was funny, though, Ed. It was really interesting that we did that, and we were having a discussion this morning, and Ed just... But that was good, because that was a discharge, and I appreciated that, and I think... Yeah, it was a demonstration of actual charge.
You want a testimony?
Right. Well, that's what we're going to do today. We're going to do today's testimonial day, and...
That was a verbal ventilation, they call it.
Well, yeah, that's, as Dr. Bonfiglio would say, he's venting his spleen. So that's why I moved to his right when he was... It just hit the board here. But, yeah, today's testimonial day. The reason why we're doing testimonials is because there's a lot of people that are real interested in the program, promoting the program for us, and there's people who want to back us and sponsor us and everything, and they like to see, like, if people are getting anywhere with the program. And I know that people are getting places with the program, but we're just not publishing any of it. We're keeping real low profile, because that's one of the main ways of having the FDA come after you, is they love testimonials, because that means that you're claiming something. See, we never really claimed anything, so nobody really ever bothers us, because we never claim anything. You know, we never say, oh, yeah, we could do this and that. Ever heard of BHI, the tablet manufacturers who put cancer on their labels? It's like a...
Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Yeah, well, they're really being bombed by the FDA now. In fact, their stuff's coming off the shelf, and it's really a mess. Because they got, you know, you get cute, see, and you put cancer, and he's got brain, an apoplexy helper, and, you know, like real just blatant statements. And they'll probably go back on the shelf okay and everything, but it's just the aggravation of, you know, doing all that. We put our names on. They gave us some trouble about our names for a while, you know, until we convinced them that they weren't really harmless, you know. Stuff like pluricostal and anti-rad, you know. I was going to put anti-rat on it, but, you know, that wouldn't have been harmless.
Well, what I understand on most homeopathic items, that you could actually label a condition that it would alleviate, and that is still considered permissible.
Yeah, the thing is that they're really cracking down anything that has to do with the cardiovascular system and also cancer. Yeah, they're the ones that they're really getting tested. Like colds and flu, they don't seem to matter too much.
Because those people can't go in the hospital and have operations.
Right.
The DRGs are here.
Right. But who knows why they do it? I mean, if you ever met an FDA agent, I mean, you have to.
I mean, the other day on Padma 28, the herbal.
Yeah.
And the patient came in and said, I think I'm getting rushes in my head, and I think I had hematospermia because of taking Padma. I said, fine, quit taking it. So he says, I heard it's being taken off the market by the FDA. So I said, okay. And he asked me to call him. I did. And I spent probably close to an hour on the phone with 3 or 4 different people and found out that they knew that there was an action taken, but they couldn't tell me what the action was, and I would have to write to a place in San Francisco and claim the Freedom of Information Act in order to gain this information so that I could then proceed to get the rest of it. And I realized that the whole thing with the FDA is a totally random organization, what they do. One day somebody will get the hots to try to destroy somebody, and they'll go on that project for a while until they get turned on to another one. And it's just so disgusting.
Yeah, it's really nothing personal. It's
no, it really
because
isn't.
the people...
This guy was like so happy that someone called him with something new. It's completely normal.
It's just they come in. I mean, it's unbelievable because they get one of these little bound notebooks. You know, that's like, you know, maybe about like an 8x5 notebook with lines, lots of lines in them, and they just sit there and they fold their legs and chew chewing gum, and ask you like what's your name, you know, and then you have to spell it, and then what's your address, and you know, how big is this building? You know, how many toilets do you have here? You know, that kind of stuff. I mean, it's like they go through everything, like they're going to write, you know, a complete dossier on you. And we were, you know, they watch you. You got to expect they're going to watch you. I had cars drive by here, government cars drive by, and they've got the guy jumps out with a camera and goes, jumps right in the car. A dozen of us run out there with submachine guns, spraying the car. Anyway, so we're just going to keep marching along and singing the song, and we have. So today we're going to do this handy-dandy blood program, which is going to, I think, is going to be really neat. We're going to go over this chart. I'm going to show you how to use the chart because that's, vitally important. It's going to really step up your ability to run the program and to get what you're supposed to get out of the program. You're supposed to be able to do something that nobody else can do, and to be able to do that, you have to have this chart because nobody else understands or owns one of these charts because they don't really know what it is. They can't know what it is because you have to take a lot of charge off of somebody's head for them to even realize that they even have anything like that. Because the chart is a view of an imprint of energy that controls the system. And it's got override mechanisms to it. In other words, it has self-protective mechanisms. So when people try to study it, it blanks them out. At the very top of the chart, you go to the very top of the chart. Look at the chart there. And the first phalanx.
Over here on this table? You can get a closer look.
I don't know. I don't want to do that right now. I'm going to do it, but I just want him to read. What's the very top thing? I want him to read it. That's all. What does it say?
This way you want to go?
Yeah, that's the entrance point to the cave, to the chart. What does it say? That's it.
What?
So the minute you try to break into this bank, what happens to you?
It happens. I'm unconscious.
What's that?
So that's the. It's a little rough, but you're going to get a little numb on it. That's okay. At least you have a system that gets you in and gets you out. Imagine getting in and not being able to get out. There was in this one course I took, it was an exteriorization course. 12 years ago I took this course, and the idea was to get outside your body, be float around, go visit planets and stuff like that. And a lot of people had a hard time doing that. They said, "Oh, I can't." You kidding? I mean, they were really into it. This one guy came up and he says, "I got some great news." He said, "I got outside my body." And they said, "Oh, that's great. It's fantastic." He says, "But I got some bad news too." He says, "What's that?" "I can't get back in." So that was that's some of the things that happened. Anyway, we're going to do this microscope thing today. We're going to do 3D infrared. I'll show you some things you could do with 3D infrared. The feet, the hands, and all that sort of thing. The testimonials, we got to do that today, too. We got to work that in. The other thing I want to show you that's going to be fantastic, without a doubt, is I'm going to show you we have a new release, a chart, and it's basically in book form. It's really a guide so that you can run things like attitude corrections, misunderstood word corrections, things like that, if you want to run them. If you don't want to run them, I don't suggest running them. I mean, you can't do this thing half-heartedly. You've got to do it right because it'll really get you some fantastic information. And the other thing is tomorrow we're going to go heavily into how we're going to market the program and make lots of money. Lots of money. And what I want, like for instance, I did mine the other day. I mean, just off the cuff, and I did my business list. Now I was just telling these two guys about it, but you can do, for instance, you can take out a problem and list against it, and using the right part of the body, get the answer to that list, which is very heavy. And I had a very difficult, I guess, a decision or some type of a move or what I was going to do about what we had to promote in this operation. And so I listed out 15 different things of what I thought were the main troubles in my business, and I scanned my eyes, and it told me which one of those items was the right item. And I still didn't believe it. I said, yeah, I don't know. I start working it. I got together with Karen and we sat down. Remember what I said about the flyers? Wasn't it what the program says? Wasn't it we didn't have flyers, is that we had the wrong flyers. And I sat down, I looked at it, and we looked at it, and we said, yeah, my God. And we made a series of flyers up. And these guys went crazy when I showed it to them. Because they were the kind of, they know that those flyers are going to promote this business. They're the kind of flyers that, in fact, it was really funny. Dr. Waters had just sent me in the mail the master flyer for Are You Tired flyer. And that was right on my desk. And I was sitting there looking at it. But I had in my mind like about 15 different things that I could have done. So that was a confusion, right? I had a confusion. I didn't know what the heck to do. So I attacked that confusion. And then I got that, it said, you got the wrong flyers. So I'm sitting there saying, now, that's cute. I should have the right flyers. Why don't I have the right flyers? And then I take that bit of data and I wire it into that 4301 bank because I can get in. I know how to get in because I got the chart. I don't have to go bonkers like everybody else does. I had the chart and it wired me back in there and it said accumulation of waste matter. I said, well, I could take a colonic with powdered flyers or something, But no, it was true. If you looked at my desk, you'd see all this waste matter on my desk. Not fecal matter, just waste, waste matter. Waste like rubbish. And so I cleaned up my desk, and I'll tell you, it really changed my symptoms changed. Seriously, I had, there was a lot less charge in my body because I had taken a differential away. I had taken. And I got my because out of there. Why did I have the wrong flyers? Well, because I had the idea I was going to market the system this way. And it wasn't the right way. I just look at the statistics and I said, that's not the right way to do it. So I'm picking that example because you're going to run into people that are going to have all kinds of different little problems. You do a modality sorter, you're going to find out that a guy's going to come up there and is going to say, an attitude correction. This guy's got a problem. He's got the wrong attitude. But he doesn't know what the right attitude is to have. So what we do is we look at him right in the face and say, tell me some attitudes that would be the right attitudes. And he just bang, 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 all the way down. Or just tell me some attitudes you have. I have this attitude, that attitude, bang, 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 bang. I've got 12 different attitudes. I don't know which one's firing, though. That's the thing. I want the one with the charge on it. So the computer then says, oh, attitudes? Put a patch on the heart and run that. And then take the first up numbers and look on your energy grid. Bingo. That's the one. That alone, you could charge 500, 1,000, 10,000. There's no price on it because there's no way. I don't care what drops you give him. I don't care what kind of voodoo dance you run on a guy. There's no way you're ever going to get that information unless you do that exact process. Now, the question as to whether or not it's going to help them is your follow-up on it. I mean, let's face it, if I got a thing come up and said, yeah, I got the wrong flyers, and I never did anything about it, then how would I know whether it was the right answer or not? So you do have to follow up on it. It's not like you just get the answer and say, hey, yeah, here's the answer. Well, I'll see you later. You have to get them to tell you exactly what the new plan is, how they're going to work it out, the exact pieces of the whole system have to be right there. So, for instance, you get a guy with an attitude, you correct the attitude. The idea is for them to follow up and actually change their attitude. And then they have to tell you what kind of motions will follow if they change their attitude. So, for instance, let's say the guy comes up and says, I got a bad attitude. And it says bad attitude. So he said, tell me some of the attitudes you have. And he goes down a whole long list, and one of the attitudes is that he thinks his wife is an old cow or something, and that comes up. That's charged. That's hot, okay? So we find that, and we core that out, and we find out that he's having family troubles because, he thinks his wife's an old cow. So we look at him and say, well, tell me how you can rectify the situation. How can you fix that kind of attitude? I'll just, I'll give her some flowers or something, or, go be nice to her. But why? Why is she, she's an old cow because she makes me take the trash out. No. oh, okay, you know, well, let's see if we can fix this up. So we sit there, we make a little program for the guy, and that's his homeopathic remedy. You know, homeopathics are fantastic, there's no doubt about it, but they don't cure everything. And they certainly don't handle some of these, like, irresponsible, ill-placed attitudes and emotions and all that stuff have to be found out, and you have to run a program against them en masse. Now, we're going to go over some of that, and we're probably going to do, if we got any time left, we're probably going to do some chains and things. Yeah.
Are you going to talk about the certification or something?
Yeah, well, that's tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to do, tomorrow is all business day. Tomorrow is the day we're going to talk some mean business. We're going to make some money. I'm going to tell you right now.
How about that course, that home study course?
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
We'll talk about that also tomorrow.
Tomorrow is like, tomorrow I'm going to show you how we're going to get this thing. Right now we've got 91 students on board, and that's our little number that we have here. We got to get that and make that 91,000. And we have to get people in here to start paying attention to what's going on here, because all you guys are at the top, you know, but there's no water in the river. You know, I mean, you want to start getting float up to the surface a little bit, you're going to have to get some current. And the way we do that is we got to get more people. We got to get people in here that are going to understand what's going on. The only way they're going to do that is they're going to have to study. They have to study the process, and they have to study it with enthusiasm. Now we've got, seriously, this is no hyperbole, but we have about 1,200 training courses here. And I cannot afford to put them out. I can't print them. I only have so many staff, you know, and I just can't afford it, to tell you the truth. I mean, I can't do it all myself. I mean, that book alone cost me $50,000 at Prometheon. It's in its third printing now, and you know, every time I print it, I got to pay all over again. You know, it didn't cost $50,000 to print it, but I mean, just to get it rolling and everything costs somewhere around $5,000 or $6,000 just for a few hundred of them every time I do it. So, you know, that's one of the books, and you know, I've written over 200 books, and I can't put them out. I might as well just leave them in the drawer. I got manuscripts at home, just like floor to ceiling. Now, what am I going to do with them all? I got some beautiful stuff. I mean, stuff you'd really like. Some of the mind data is incredible. How to control, you know, different attitude banks. I've got about 20 or 30 of those kind of interface charts. I've got one on fear that's fantastic.